Well, it started day 4, and it is absolutely rainy and terrible out today. So glad I went outside. Thank you, Colby, for letting me use your garage. So this morning I got to run and grab that oil pump I need so I can get the oil pan on this. I'm gonna grab a couple other things while I'm there, and I'll work on getting this thing around and bolted up and in. So that'll be the start of today. I still got to chase a bunch of parts, but I think I'm going to push those off till tomorrow. Clutch and stuff, which I think is foolish because I'm going to have to at least pluck the tranny back out to put the flywheel and clutch back on afterwards. But that flywheel and clutch is about an hour and a half away. So that's a 3-hour round trip. Add in time, talking with the guy there, that's 3.5 hours probably. Stop for food. Could be 4 hours wasted running down there and back. There's somebody out in that direction that's available tomorrow where I need to pick up some tires for this. Hopefully they're holding them for me. And maybe I can make it like a beeline trip, and then I got to pick up a rear end from my buddy tomorrow also for this. So hopefully tomorrow I'll make one big loop, do like a 5 or 6 hour drive and pick up a ton of parts. We'll see how that goes. But for right now, I'm gonna run out and get that. But I forgot to, I keep forgetting to check in. My buddy Chris gave me a bin of parts that he had laying around when I picked up the engine lift from him. So let's check out the goodie bag. This is a goodie bag. So he ended up, this carburetor, we had a little bit of problems with it. 750 had some brass in it, and his car just didn't like it even after we got it cleaned out. So he ended up giving that to me. Pretty much new AC Delco starter if I end up with the big flywheel with the proper bolts. You got to have the proper bolts with that knurled edge for these things to fit right. And what else we got? We got some radiator mounts. Oh, we got a crankshaft bolt in there, and I'm not sure what that little AC Delco box is. We got an extra filter, bonus, and we got oil pressure gauge and dipstick, universal dipstick. That's cool. And what do we got here? We got header bolts and oil line fitting, and the dowels for the back of the block. Oh, and a factory distributor hold down. There we go. These factory ones are way better than most of the aftermarket ones. And then we got a adjustable timing pointer. That's nice. A couple of water pump gaskets, another carb gasket. That's cool. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. They will not go to waste, I promise. So I'm going to run, get some stuff, and I'll do a check-in once I'm back here doing some actual work. Because the work is what you guys are here to see, I know that. So I'm going to get back on it. We'll get some progress today. Oh, O'Reilly's came through. They had everything I needed. They actually had the Mellings brand oil pump and the better shaft. And I left my engine lift plate down in North Reading. That's 40 minutes away. So for like 17 bucks, just bought a new one. And just some cheap oil to run it for right now. So thank you, O'Reilly's, coming in clutch. They said they had it online, and it was here when I got here. I invested a little time cleaning the motor down and painted it. I haven't painted a motor Chevy orange in a long time. Kind of satisfying. I'm usually doing body color, base clear, and all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I figured this is a vintage event, so it's supposed to be like pre-60s. I figured Chevy orange would probably be the way to go. And didn't take the water pump off, timing cover, the pulleys, or any of that stuff. I just held a couple pieces of cardboard around it, sprayed around it, and it'll be good enough. And I scrubbed down the intake yesterday. That's just sitting there. Yeah, I just set the intake on right now. But, you know, not too bad for a, just holding a couple pieces of cardboard around to bomb all this after it was painted Chevy orange. And I'll get the intake gasketed, bolted on, valve covers on, oil pump changed, and all that stuff. I'll do all that after lunch. I'm going to make a sandwich. And I'm going to let some of these paint fumes come out of this small garage that's getting a little powerful in here between brake clean and the paint. So I'm going to have some lunch and we'll get back at it. Let's make this a complete motor, and then it looks like timing's working out good because I have to have the engine lift outside to be able to get the motor and tranny hooked up and into the car. Looks like the rain's just petering off, so perfect timing. So this is awesome. So I was lining up the intake gaskets on this thing because these ports just don't look right to me. But this is one of the GM Performance intakes, I believe. It's got the Chevy badges on it. And if you line up the bolt holes, yeah, that's all the bolt holes lined up. There. And there. And look at how far off those ports are. And like, I can't tell how much. That's not a lot of gasket coverage there on the top. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm surprised how small the ports are, but this matches there, and then we got about that thick, and then you're already into the ports. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to get a scribe and scribe this thing. Check back in a second. Yeah, so that's the edge of the gasket. There's not a lot of port material left there. Some rag fuzzies in there. Those will burn up. But yeah, and there's room around the bolts. So, like if this slides down, then it's going to be even worse. Because I think set a couple of bolts in here. Yeah, so maybe if I put it in and I pull it all the way up with the bolts in it. Let's see, let me put all the bolts in it. Sorry, I should have been ready for this. Yeah, so maybe if I put it in and pull it up all the way, and it'll still be covering all the water ports. Yeah, so I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get it in there and somehow pull it upwards and get it to just be all the way up to the top edge. Let me see what it looks like on the motor also. Alright, so if it's all the way down on the bolts, it's down a little low. And if I pull it up all the way, like I was showing it there, it does center it up on the head nicely. The coolant ports are all still inside. So what I might do is I might bend this corner of the gasket, like compromise it so it rests on the bolt. And the same thing on this end, like just where that's so much bigger, I'll probably like get that to tweak a little bit. So that way that I don't have to try and get in between the intake and get that up some. Gotta pay attention to the details. Like I said, if that thing was all the way down that top edge, it might not have sealed. And that would have been a pretty substantial vacuum leak up there. It seals on this little bump up. So it might have actually been trying to seal on the low side up there, just that little bit of edge on the top. Oh boy. All right, get back to it. Well, timing worked out pretty good. She's all together. Motor mounts on it, oil pans on it, oil pumps in it, pickup tubes on it and adjusted. Intakes on it, valve covers are on it. The distributor that was in it is in it right now just to hold top dead center, so if I'm cranking it over, doing the flywheel and stuff like that. But that's where we're at. I totally forgot I typically cut that off because this pan gasket fits multiple motors. But yeah, not too bad for just a used $150 motor. So I'm gonna work on cleaning up the mess a little bit, get the engine lift over here, get this lifted off of here, start assembling the transmission on it, and slide her in, see what happens. that was an incredibly long lunch break. Stopped for a sandwich, and then one of the neighbors stopped by. Ended up talking for, I don't know, had to be 2 hours. But anyway, I got the bell housing cleaned up, that on, tranny on, the shifter off the tranny, and there was the original transmission cross member was still in the S10 that was going to be in the way after some measurements. So unbolted one side, cut the other side off, and now we're going to try and drop it in. This will tell us how much work it's going to be. So yeah, and there's no clutch in there, there's just a automatic flywheel. And I didn't clean the tranny, and I'm probably going to have to take that out on my back, so I'm going to regret not cleaning it, I'm sure. But yeah, everything's cleared, that cross member's cut out, it was full of water, probably from pressure washing, and let's see what happens. Well, I don't know how that looked, but it went reasonably easy. Might have looked like I was struggling, but it wasn't too bad. Was able to leave the hood on. I strapped the hood to one of the rafters in here, so I didn't have to have any prop rod on it. And just gotta remember to take that down before I try and roll the car out, so I don't rip the ceiling down. Pull more of the ceiling down. But she's in there. It's looking like I might have to cut the whole drive shaft tunnel out of it at this point, possibly. I had to do a little more finagling, see exactly height, and I got my angle finder on there right now, and I'm at about 4 degrees right now, but the front end is going to drop a good amount, so that's going to take that angle out of that just a little bit. So I may just kind of block it, get the weight on it, bounce the car, and then see where the angle's at before I start making mounts. And yeah, this is where we're at. I got a little bit of room between the cross member and the steering and the oil pan and the balancer and all that stuff. The hole for the column, I just lined it up with the dent in the bottom of the dash, blew a hole, and that's hitting the valve cover. So I could possibly run the shorter valve covers. They still got to clear the roller rockers that are in there, but might be able to just squeeze a smaller valve cover in there. And worst case scenario, I'll have to move it over some. And also, we got this front pipe for the header. Not a lot of room there, so we'll see. I got a couple of header options laying around. So, and the motor's going to come this way a little bit, so it's going to get a little closer. So we'll see what I do with all this. I'll probably just take this out now to be able to center the motor, deal with mounts and all that, because that's critical. And the column, I can address that later on. But the transmission fits right up in that opening almost perfect, like it was meant to be there. Now the shifter will come up right about here. That should be at a good point, because it'll probably be back here, so that'll be kind of in line with the steering column. So if you can reach the steering column, you can reach the shifter. Nothing worse than when the shifter is too far forward and you're trying to bang through the gears. But that's it. It's down in there. And there's a lot of wasted space here. Look at all this space. I mean, you could put something in there someday, like a 671 or 2. You might be able to stack 2 of them in there. All kinds of room for fun activities in there. So, all right, well, I'm going to stop messing around now. I probably won't time lapse this because I'll just be like looking back and forth and pulling that steering column. So I'll mess around with this, and if I get any further, there'll be another update. If not, this will be the wrap up for tonight, and see what happens. All right, so setting things up, trying to get the motor centered and test fitting the random headers that I have laying around. I have one more set back at my storage in North Reading that I didn't bring. I should have brought. Those ones are probably going to be the ones because they're not here. This is what we're seeing, is the steering shaft is going to hit that that's where I had blown a hole kind of over where the factory was. But I do have room inside to move it over without getting too close to the door. But that's going to be way too far over. So I could cut out a section of this and move it in, but it's at a bit of an angle. But then also down here, it's hitting the control arm, and there's a bend here with some void. So I could heat it here and back there and clamp these together and pull that pipe up to clear that. And if I did that, it would extend it over here so it would line back up when I cut out a section. But then it's got angle plugs heads. Look at that. That's directly into the center of the pipe. So that's not going to work at all. So next option. All right, so next option, we're running into basically the same problem. We have spark plugs going right into the tubes. That back one will hit when I put that spark plug in back here. So these block huggers, they ain't an option either. And this front tube here is going to hit the control arm even more. So I'd really have to like cut and weld in like 45 in here. So those ain't an option either. These ones would absolutely, like this would have to come off and come back here to be able to clear that control arm. So those ain't going to work either. So that's 3 no-goes on what I have. And I left 1 set behind. Because I'll have to pick those up tomorrow on the run. And tonight I'll do some Googling and see what I can come up with, if anybody's got anything cool that might fit locally. And we'll go from there. But I think that's going to be the last check-in video for the night. Is that, because it's already late. As you can tell, it's already dark out. Next step is going to be getting this all centered up perfectly, getting the angle set perfect, and making a transmission cross member, motor mounts, and all that stuff. So I won't start that now and then have to regroup and get started in the morning. I'd rather call it a little bit early tonight and get started from scratch tomorrow when I land. After, and probably gonna do all my running in the morning. But some sort of progress. Motor's fitting in, problems are getting figured out, solved, and whatnot. And still got a lot of time left. Let's see if we can do this.